When you're first starting off with watercolor, you're gonna have to collect a whole bunch of stuff and you end up spending a lot of money on it. What I want to do here is show you the basics that we're using in our Watercolor Landscapes class this year and kind of talk about why I chose the different things I chose. The big one is this little palette right here. It's from Koi Watercolors. They're readily available in Michael's here in Rapid City where we're teaching the class. But this is a basic palette that has both warm and cool colors. It's got black, it's got white, it's got a nice burnt sienna and a raw umber color. It's also got a sponge and a water brush, so it is designed to take out, to do plein air painting when you're out in the wild, painting from life outdoors. This is a really useful little thing to have. These are dry watercolor cakes and they're a 1/2 ounce size, so a half pan. You can replace some of these depending on the brand you get. If you get Cotman watercolors in the full pan size, I know that you can order individual color replacements for that. I haven't done that. I just buy a new kit when I start running out of colors. The other kind of watercolor that you'll see a lot is tube watercolors, and I've got 2 different sets that I've been using for a few years. The QOR ones are really nice, good artist quality colors, and these are Holbein. I have a set of those as well. I like the bigger ones rather than the smaller ones because I paint a lot and I don't like running out of stuff. The other thing I've noticed with the smaller tubes is they'll dry out if you let them sit for a couple years. So far I haven't had a problem with the bigger tubes. These are nice because they're easier to mix up. They're already liquid when they come out of the tube, so you don't have to work as hard and you can get more color onto your palette more quickly. That said, I started using these just because when you're a kid, this is the kind you get, so that's what I'm used to, and I'm really comfortable with them. There's never any reason that you can't use what you're comfortable with. So go ahead and start out with a nice kit like this that has all your colors. If you want to spend a little bit more, get these tubes. And then you're gonna need brushes. Brushes are difficult. I got some kits from, what is this, Artist's Loft, because once again, they're available at Michael's. I'm surprised at the quality of these. They're just little synthetic brushes in round and square shapes. So I'll show you, this one is a number 4 round, and we're using this for our leaves and any sort of round shapes. It's beautiful for wet on wet, and it can also do a really fine line because that tip is tiny. The other one that we're using, and this is I believe a number 6 size, this is a square tipped brush. So this gives you the ability to do corners a little bit easier. And this one has just a touch of an angle to it, which is odd. Probably because it's an inexpensive brush, they're not cutting it quite as precisely as they could. So these are the ones that all of my students in the basic watercolor landscapes class got because I need something inexpensive. I don't have a particular type of brush that I swear by yet. I'm still experimenting with them. These actually have been just about my favorites. The other one that I'm not able to afford for our class kit is a mop brush. So this one is bigger. It's definitely designed for watercolor. Again, these are available at Michael's, so I know that you can get this exact same thing if you head down there. This one is really nice for getting a lot of watercolor water onto a paper very quickly. So if you have a larger piece of paper, this is a nice one to have. The other thing that I like to have in my collection is a larger round brush. So I'm not even sure what size this is. This is a sort of Chinese calligraphy style, but you can see how much bigger it is than this number 4 brush that I had as an example before. It also has a nice tip, so you can do very fine lines, but it can double as a mop brush, so you can put lots of water in your paper really quickly. So I like to have at least one of these in my collection as well. So if you're continuing watercolor outside the class, this is the next thing you want to buy, is that mop brush. I also have an extra palette. These guys are little 33-cent plastic things that I got at Michael's, surprise, but you can order these online. I recommend blick.com for any of your supplies if you know exactly what you want. You don't have to see it in person. You can get good prices and their shipping is brilliant. To tape my paper down, I'm using just regular masking tape. There are a lot of different ways to tape paper down. There's some that are specific to artists. There's some that are really inexpensive, but this kind of middle of the road, it's inexpensive, it's easy, it's readily available. You probably have it in your house already, and you can use it to lay your paper flat on a board and be confident that it will stay. And then the last thing that you're gonna need is paper. So for class, we're using this Canson, I wanna say it's 350 or 300-pound paper. It's a nice quality paper. It's not as good as the other one I'm going to show you, but it's doing everything we need it to while we're practicing. And I got 2 reams of it for class, so we've got plenty to play with. The other one that I'm going to recommend, if you're a little more serious about this, is the Arch brand in a watercolor block. And this one's all used up, but when you first get them, they're going to be black all the way around the edge, except for this one little white area here. And you paint on it, your paper is already stuck down to this block, so it's not going to wrinkle up. It hardly wrinkles at all when you get a watercolor block. And then when you're done, you take a knife and you slide it in between the 2 pieces of paper. A butter knife is best because you don't want to cut your paper. You just want to break the seal around it where it's sealed together. And you slide it all the way around and it comes right off that block. And then you have your finished painting free and ready to frame or hang. So that is the basic supplies we're using for class. 2 more things that we're using in class that you probably got at home or you should come up with: a jar for water, a cup for water. Doesn't much matter. Watercolors are generally non-toxic, so you don't have to worry about going back and forth between your kitchenware and your paintware. But if you're doing this a little more often, you should probably have one dedicated for your watercolor. And then the last thing is a board or a table that you can tape your paper to if you don't have one of those watercolor blocks. So in class, we have sheets of masonite or tempered hardboard that we've cut up out of big 4x8 panels. You can also buy them at any art supply store. I got one back when I was in high school from the campus store down at the School of Mines here. So a lot of your colleges will have this kind of stuff if you don't have a local art store. So that is our basic supplies for watercolor. If you don't already have them, you're going to want to get a set of different colors appropriate for landscapes, an extra palette, some masking tape, a couple of different brushes, and a nice paper. That should do it.